see here. There we go. But am I up on screen yet on YouTube? Let's see. It's been, 13 seconds. Come on. Here we go. There we go. All right. So, last episode was a disaster, huh? Because it seemed like just all the forces of the universe were aligned against me to keep me from talking about that action figure any further. Well, I'm going to try to talk about it a little bit more today, but we got other stuff to open up. So what I'm going to do today is I've got this guy here, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2020 or 2000X. There, that's what I'm going for. 2000X cartoon collection with this Filmation-y looking logo, even though it's not Filmation. Skeletor, and we've got. I brought it over here with me, which is now nice and repaired. The 2026 Chronicles Skeletor. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that after we open up this guy and talk about him. But look, I did get the arm back on. The arm's back on nice. So for those of you who missed that episode, it was just the Murphy's Law episode where everything that could possibly go wrong did go wrong. I open up the figure. The arm falls off straight out of the package. I can't get the arm to go back on. I take it into the kitchen so I can use my hair dryer, get the arm back on, come back in here, start talking about the action figure again. Power goes out. So I tried to do the show on my phone. I have my flashlight and my phone, and we're gonna get through this show and try to stay positive and everything like that. And then my phone all of a sudden decides, hey, you know what? I don't want to have reception anymore. So I'm just going to keep dropping out every 2 seconds. So it just became impossible to proceed at that point. And it was really annoying. And I just finally had to just call it a day and be like, well, I'll try to talk more about this figure later and say the other things I wanted to say about it. And I figured what better thing to do today than to open up another Skeletor action figure. The 2000X line, and then once I'm done talking about him, we'll talk some more about the Chronicles figure, and then we can say all that again. Al Davis is here and says, "Hello, Alan. Glad to see you again. Hell, I'm glad anybody can see me again. That's tempt fate. Well, we'll knock on wood. How about that? Oh, and here's something else I've been working on. This is something I've been dreaming about for a long time, and I finally saw where somebody had made a model of the head, so I can finally print it out. Check it out, yo. I am making myself a George Reeves Superman action figure, and doesn't that head look great? Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I did a really good job painting that up, and of course the model was great, and I was able to get the George Reeves Superman emblem to print out too, so that was a free file there. And this one I got on this guy's Patreon. I believe is what was this guy's name? Let me see if I can find him again. It was let me look on my Patreon. 3DX Files is the guy's name. So I saw him selling it on his on Cults 3D, and then it said it was free on the Patreon, and it's free if you had the paid Patreon, of course. But I could buy it on Patreon. I could subscribe to his channel, his Patreon for free, and then I could buy it off of his Patreon for like $8, which was not. He was asking for $13 on Cults because I guess they get a cut of that, maybe a bigger cut than what Patreon gets. So that's why it was cheaper on Patreon. But yeah, I had an extra Brandon Routh that I bought it with the hope that one day I'll make this into a George Reeves figure, and just kind of sanded down the Brandon Routh emblem and glued this one on top of it. And doesn't that look cool? Doesn't he look great? Isn't he coming along nicely? So I'm going to make him a new cape, and going to make him, I'm painting up the trunks and the boots right now, and printed him out a new belt buckle. Oh, it's going to look awesome. I'm so excited for this guy. And I've wanted like a real genuine George Reeves Superman figure for a long time. And finally I'm like, screw it. I'm going to make it myself. And it's turned out pretty cool. And there went some thunder. I swear it was beautiful weather earlier today. And then I start filming. I start this video, and then I hear a bolt of thunder outside. You better not knock out the power today. I swear. I just want to do my video, man. I just want to do my video and open up my action figure and talk to you fine people out there in YouTube land. But somebody had to get in our way. Well, let's go ahead and open them up. Let's go ahead. Well, first let's look at the artwork on the back. Lovely picture of Skeletor as seen on the beginning. Oh, and Amiga Cammy is here. I didn't have a chance to say hi because I was ranting about stuff. I apologize, but hello, welcome to you. Got King Randor back there, you know, being defeated by we don't know it's his half brother yet, but it's his half brother. And there's He-Man himself and Battle Cat and Panther battling on Vasquez rocks in the background. Because, like I said, Eternia should look kind of like Vasquez rocks, I think. And then we've got Skeletor and the cross-salt artwork, and Zodak and Prince Adam, and of course I do have these other two figures. I will be opening them up sometime in the near future, although I don't know exactly when yet. So, and we do have one more Kids Core figure that I need to open up, which is Mecha Neck, and hopefully I'll get that Chronicles Trapjaw figures. Oh no, wait, I have two more Kids Core figures to open up because I got the Skell Knight, so I've got two of those. Amiga Cammy says, I wonder if Mattel will make a 2000X Battle Cat and Panther. Well, you know, it seems to me like it'd be pretty easy to do because, you know, you could, well, I guess with these, they have been doing the thing where they made like a whole new body type for them. But I kind of figure you could just take the regular Battle Cat and Panther, and they could have done that for the regular the regular Origins line, like they did the regular Origins version of 2000X He-Man and Skeletor, right? And just make new armor for them. I was looking to see if there was like somebody had maybe made a set of armor that I could print out, and I was going to do that. But it looks like the only set like that is one that fits on the vintage one. But I found a scan of the vintage Battle Cat, so I can actually make as many Battle Cats as I want. Oh, and I'm working on Battle Lion for my King Grayskull figure. So he's got little rubber tabs around his arms and around his shins. We're cutting those. And you know, like with the other figures that oh man, I forgot I was gonna get my original 2000X Skeletor to compare him to. Damn it. Oh well. I don't want to leave again because I kind of feel like my leaving to pop that arm back on kind of jinxed everything the other day. So, all right. So looking at this figure, he's got claws sculpted onto his hands. These aren't just like the regular sort of Masters of the Universe hands like we see a lot of the times. They actually do have little claws on them, which is cool. I like that. And he's got like a lot more black areas to his armor than the original Skeletor figure had, and less metallic purple. And man, that's a great head sculpt. I'm loving that head sculpt. It definitely captures that 2000X sort of feel to it. And the gladiator kilt, the belt sort of thing, I was almost thinking for like half a second, did they just reuse the one from the regular cartoon, from the regular Origins version? But no, it seems like it's an all new sculpt, and it looks good. But it does have a little more detail to it than I was expecting something like this to have. And then his bracer over here has like a little skull sculpted into it. That's really cool. And there's a little skull on this one too. And they do look like to me like two different bracers. There's a slightly shorter bracer on the left hand than on the right hand. And then they got the bones painted in on the chest and the little magenta sort of gem. And he does have that problem that Skeletor tends to have, where you've got the neck in between the armor and the hood. Maybe they should have made the hood hang down a little longer, and that would have helped with that. But it's especially funny on this version of Skeletor, who I believe doesn't have a neck at all, and it's just like a floating skull above the shoulders, and I really like that look of it. Oh, we got the Havoc staff, which looks very cool, and it looks like the head is actually molded in a separate piece of plastic, which is kind of bone white, and then they painted in the ram's horns tan, and then the Havoc staff itself is purple. And I don't think his skin color matches exactly with the regular Origins 2000X Skeletor, which is a shame because I would actually really like to get an extra one of these and put his feet on that Skeletor, because he's got like the proper Skeletor 2000X style feet with the 5 toes, and not just reusing the 80s style feet. So, but you know, we can't have it all, can we? And then Skeletor's other accessories that he comes with are the infamous 2000X Skeletor swords, and those are supposed to fit together. And unfortunately, you can see mine got kind of warped in the packaging, so it's not really gonna work as well as we might like. But let's go ahead and put them together anyway. And you can see that there's like little peg holes here, little pegs there, and I just got to line them up. And that is easier said than done because they keep wanting to go in different directions. But I think... No. Come on, you. Let's not be that way. It keeps wanting to go, like, if I get one peg into the hole, the other one wants to slide out onto the side. They don't quite want to go together right. There we go. So that's what it should look like, and at least from the front, it looks correct. It was put together, but you can see, like I said, since the blades are kind of warped, they're going off in different directions, and that should not be. They should be both kind of pointing in the same direction. And then on the original 2000X sword, the two pommels kind of connected together, and one pommel had kind of like a claw, and the other pommel had like a sphere, and they kind of clasped together like this. But they tend to not do that a lot. Like the classics version also didn't do this. So it's just a sword. It's just a sword with two handles now that aren't attached together at all. And and to me, these two, it kind of reminds me of like the popsicles with the two sticks. You know what I'm talking about? Like that type of popsicle. And it's like that. So, and one of these, the one half is sculpted is molded in purple, the traditional Skeletor purple, and the other half is orange. And for those of you who don't know, for those of you who came in late, for those of you who weren't around at the time, the original Skeletor, one half of it had a purple handguard and handle, and the other half had a bronze copper kind of handguard and handle, and they both had silver blades. And the idea that the Four Horsemen had initially was that Skeletor had gotten a hold of the Sword of Power. And this was supposed to be like their redesigned version of the original Power Sword. And you can see that it kind of is vaguely shaped like the original Power Sword. There's a little rough spot on here, so I just kind of wanted to, like where it would have met the mold. But I cut it off, so it's fine now. But yeah, so like the original concept of He-Man, where He-Man and Skeletor each had half of the sword, this one would have been the He-Man half of the sword. This one would have been the He-Man half, and this one would have been the Skeletor half, and then they both fit together. And in the original, the Four Horsemen's original concept for what would become the 2000X line, Skeletor would have stolen the sword, and Man-at-Arms had to create a brand new Sword of Power so that Adam could channel the power of Grayskull, a new conduit, as it were. So he designed what became the 2000X Power Sword. Now, Mattel liked this design for the Power Sword so much, they decided to just make that the Power Sword. And it did kind of simplify the storyline a little bit, but as a kind of an artifact of that original storyline, Skeletor had the what was the Four Horsemen's original concept for what became of the Sword of Power. But yeah, so technically how it should have looked originally, at least according to how the Four Horsemen had intended it to be, is there we have He-Man with his half of the Power Sword, and that's what that would have looked like. And Skeletor would have, of course, had the purple half. Like so. But as it is, since they decided to make the the techno power sword, the power sword in this particular continuity. Just kind of both halves of the swords were both Skeletor's swords. And one thing that they did differently, and I don't remember if it was like this on the cartoon or not, but it would make sense to make this change for the cartoon, is that you can see it's got the ram's head on there at the handguard. They kind of combined the shape of the original power sword with the ram's head, the ram's skull. But like I said, that was originally supposed to be He-Man's half of the sword. So originally it was supposed to be like an eagle. If you look at the original 2000X sword, that half of it has an eagle for the handguard, and Skeletor's half has the ram's skull for the handguard. This is all very interesting. I think it's interesting anyway. You might think it's like incredibly boring and be like, why is he droning on and on and on about like the swords in these different ways? Who cares? Well, I care. I think it's interesting. That's why I'm talking about. Al Davis says, I was just thinking swords. Maybe. I think I've seen something where, yeah, I remember it was Kill La Kill, where the girl in that she had the sword that was like half of a pair of scissors. So yeah, kind of like scissors, I guess, sort of. But yeah, here he is dual wielding both halves of the sword, and then of course you can put both halves together. And I'm just gonna have to use a hairdryer or something and straighten these blades out, because that's gonna get on my nerves with them being crooked like that. But I kind of now want to get like extra versions, like an extra Skeletor, so I can use the extra swords and maybe give He-Man one half, like do like stay true to the Four Horsemen's original concept for how these swords would have worked. Not that I'm complaining with how things turned out, because I think they worked out well. And then we can go ahead and put the Havoc staff in his hand and see what he looks like with that. And man, I am really digging this Havoc staff. You know, I really liked the Kids Core Havoc staff that the movie Skeletor came with, and the gold Havoc staff that Revenge of Skeletor came with. And of course, this Chronicles Havoc staff is just, Mattel has been killing it with the Havoc staffs lately. They all look really cool. And then of course, I'm sure you guys have seen that they're putting out the original Mark Taylor design of Skeletor as a sketchbook figure. And of course, I'm super excited about that. I can't wait to get that one. That one might even wind up becoming my definitive Skeletor, at least once I repaint his face, because you know, they still have him with the blue face because he had a blue face in the original design. But I will buy multiples and I will repaint his face yellow and green, and it will look really cool. Al Davis says, you could do a small air-dry clay wall and then make a silicone mold and cast it in. Well, I mean, yeah, probably could, like, cast these things. Or, you know, maybe somebody will make a model to 3D print or something like that. But if I could get an extra one for cheap, like, you know, I wouldn't mind buying an extra one of this guy for cheap. He's going to have a lot of cool parts that I can reuse, like the feet. I really like the feet. And I believe Stratos has these same feet, but molded in gray. And these shin guards are really cool. They're definitely very Skeletor. They're definitely easily Skeletors because they got the bones in there. But I think they could work really well for, like, if you wanted to do a custom of, say, Scareglow or something like that. Or even if you just wanted to paint the whole thing like a solid color, like gold or bronze or silver. I don't think the bone, the shin bone there, I don't think that it would be too obvious. I think that it's just subtle enough that that you could probably paint over it and it wouldn't be that noticeable. And then he's got these little spikes. I never noticed that on the 2000X version either. But he's got these little spikes on his shoulders. I don't know why. But yeah, you can see even in the light in my room that there's some areas of his armor, like the shin guards are black and some of the straps are black and things like that. Those are his nipples. Way up here. That's I don't care if he's like some other demonic race. That's an odd place to put your nipples. Really, the nipples, they should be like right here. His nipples should be visible, but I guess you don't really see him because he's a cartoon character. So, and then I like the color. I kind of felt like they got the bone a little too bone colored on the cartoon. And to me, on the 2000X cartoon, it was a little too white. but here it's got like a little bit more of a yellow cast, and I think that works out really well. I started writing before you specified shoulders. Dude, if he had spiky nipples, that would just be awesome. Like, remember in Dark Knight Returns, the mutant leader, and how he had like the spiky, I don't know if they were supposed to be piercings or little pasties or what, but he had like spiky nipples, and I'm just kind of like, it's Frank Miller, so you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, let's just roll with it. He's got spiky nipples, and I'm not sure why, but it's Frank Miller, so we're just rolling with it. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about his articulation real quick. I'm going to take his weapons out of his hands, and Skeletor can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilts his head kind of side to side, rotate that all the way around. Of course, Skeletor's arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. They're going to kind of bump into his armor a little bit. That's to be expected. They raise up to the sides about that far. Skeletor's got a single joint articulation at the elbow, bends in about that far, rotates all the way around. His wrists rotate all the way around, and then both of them seem to have a horizontal hinge that moves back and forth. Skeletor can rotate all the way around the waist. By the way, this is an Origins figure, and that means he can come apart at the waist. He can take off his head, he can take off his arms, he can take off his lower legs, and mix and match all those parts with other Origins figures. A lot of fun. Let's see. Skeletor can kick up about that far. It's not very far, but, you know, it's an Origins figure. What do you expect? He can do the splits, no problem. Jean-Claude Van Damme style. And then he's got a single joint of articulation at the knee, bends in about that far, rotates all the way around, of course at a little bit of angle, but still. And then he's got a boot cuts, the armor, the shin rotates all the way around, but you know it's got this really huge shin guard on it, so that's kind of hinder that a little bit. That's to be expected. Skeletor's foot can point down about that far. Skeletor's foot can point up about that far, and then of course it rotates all the way around. So that's pretty much it for our 2000X Skeletor from the cartoon collection. Very impressive looking figure. I do have one little nitpick that I'm gonna make right now, and you know, you might have noticed this too, and you might agree with me, is that Skeletor on the 2000X cartoon usually, not always, but usually, was wearing a cape, and you can see this guy does not have a cape. Now, the 2000X figure didn't have a cape, but, you know, people are going to nitpick about, well, you know, he shouldn't have that weapon because he never used it on a cartoon. Well, then he should have a cape, right? Because he almost always had a cape on the cartoon. So why doesn't he have a cape? I think they should have given him a cape. Just like a little soft goods cape. It doesn't have to be too fancy. I'm not expecting like a wired cape. It would have been, you know, fine to just cut a little triangle of fabric and hang it over his neck. That would have been cool. But doesn't even have that. No cape for this guy. And that's unfortunate. I think that he should have had a cape. Other than that, I really like the armor. A lot of good detail to it. There's even like some leathery texture you can see there in like a cartoonish sort of way, but it's there. And on the you know the little straps at the side, all this kind of stuff. He looks really cool. The bat shape, it's even got like a little bit of an edging to it, which I don't kind of feel like it really needed to have, but they put it in there anyway. Got the little demon face on his belt buckle. This is a great 2000X Skeletor, and I think they did a really good job with it. Not just for a cartoon collection version, but just a 2000X Skeletor in general. I think they did a good job with him. One other minor complaint that I would have is he does not have any kind of storage on the back for his sword. So you got to have him holding all of his accessories all the time. Otherwise, you know, there's no place to store any of this stuff. So we'll go ahead and get him put together as best as I can for the thumbnail, which I will take that thumbnail in a little bit as soon as the video is over. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the Chronicles Skeletor, the movie Skeletor that we didn't get a chance to talk about as much that time. So you can see I swapped out his hand, so I've got the open hand over here, and I feel like that's going to be the best hand to have for this guy, because you can get him into a lot of cool dramatic poses like that, like a spell casting sort of hand and that sort of thing. I like that. That's really cool. And as I pointed out many times before, with with characters who have staves, if you want to get them into a two-handed pose, you can usually just kind of like have the gripping hand do the heavy lifting on one hand, and then just kind of put the more sort of looser hand around it, and it still works out pretty well, I think, for a two-handed pose, in my humble opinion. One thing that I really like about this figure is he does have that articulation at the jaw, which is something that I kind of feel like every Skeletor figure should have that. I think that that's something that really gives him a lot of character and makes this figure just that much more impressive. The unfortunate thing is you can still kind of see some of the hinge of the jaw as cheeks, so it makes him look a little more chubby cheeked than usual. I don't know another way to phrase that. But I had seen where some people had painted a little bit of black on that hinge a little bit, and it does help out a little bit. Bobby Wald is here and says, I'm surprised with the magic in Eternia, he doesn't just pull a Hannibal Lecter and wear somebody else's face. Well, he doesn't have to really resort to those kind of things because, he's got the shaping staff. He can disguise himself with the shaping staff. So that's cool. And yeah, the jaw is articulated. Al Davis says, I love that the jaw is articulated. Yeah, it is awesome. That is, for me, that's one of the main selling points of this figure, is that articulated jaw. It's also one of the things that I really liked about the Masterverse Havoc Throne figure. So here's another head that has that, which is going to be on a figure that's, well, it's not exactly a cheap figure. It's definitely more affordable than the Havoc Throne one. That was my birthday present for myself last year. That's the kind of expensive that is. And, I've seen some on sale at like Big Bad Toy Store and things like that. But even on sale, it's still fairly pricey. So, yeah. And like I said, the cape on this guy it's plastic molded cape. I'm going to pop his head off for a second because I think that'll make this easier. And it seems like this whole thing is the cape is a separate piece from the armor, but it's all kind of glued down to his torso. So I don't believe it's intended to be removed at all. And it's probably possible to remove it, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be permanently on there. Even the gem underneath is a separate piece that's glued on underneath there. So they put a lot of effort into the design of this guy, and there's a lot of layers to the costume and the paint and how everything is molded. And it all looks really cool, and they did a good job. I like his boots. And he does have regular boots. He doesn't have, like, monster feet. But you can see, like, there's a lot of detail to the boots. Like, almost like they're saddle shoes or something. You know what I mean? But, yeah, they put a lot of effort in this figure, and he's really cool looking. I really wish I could have given this figure a proper episode. And I'm very disappointed that wound up getting interrupted that it did, because this is a great figure and it deserves to have another episode, a proper episode, maybe at some point in the future. Since, like I said, I was kind of considering buying a second one of these anyway. Maybe I'll do another unboxing in the future, and then it'll have a proper unboxing episode. But unfortunately, as it is, we don't really have one right now, and that's a shame. That's a shame that it worked out that way. And hey, this has been a shorter episode than, because it looks like I've only been on for like 30 minutes. This has been a shorter episode than that other episode where I got interrupted. So Lone Dragon and I were having a laugh in the chat. Well, that's fine. I'm glad somebody was having fun. And then Al Davis says, I got a super cheap snap fit skeleton from AliExpress. It'll actually be great for stop motion animation. The jaw on it moves. It's old school G.I. Joe size. You mean like 3 3/4 inch or 12 inch? It depends on what you think of as old school. Al Davis says, I am empathetic. That's fine. And Bobby Wald says, I'm surprised Go Towards Minions have never challenged him to a whistling competition. It's something I noticed about his dialogue in the trailer from what I've seen, is that it seems like Jared Leto is trying to play Skeletor, reading his dialogue as if he has no lips. So he's talking like this kind of thing. And I'm like, we'll see if we can keep that up through the whole movie. But yeah, bro doesn't have a face, so I don't know how he enunciates as well as he does. Like, I figure it's just magic is the thing. So it's he's not really talking through his mouth like a normal person so much as he's just projecting a voice from somewhere. We don't know exactly where. Al Davis says, "Good point. Action Man for me is the huge Barbie size one." GI. That makes sense because I don't think that over there they ever called. I don't think they ever called the 12-inch GI Joe that. I think it was always just called Action Man over there. On the other hand, I do think that eventually Action Force, if I remember correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Eventually, Action Force did get rebranded as GI Joe over there once I think Hasbro bought out Palitoy, I think is what happened, and then they wanted to just consolidate the GI Joe brand worldwide. So but yeah, like Action Force was actually a thing before Hasbro was doing 3 3/4 inch GI Joe, if I remember correctly, and that's why they had that kind of Star Wars articulation, because it was more like let's try to do Action Man but in a Star Wars format rather than let's do what the Yanks are doing with GI Joe. Of course, once they saw what Hasbro was doing with GI Joe over here, then it was like, okay, we got to get some of that action, and that was when you started to see the recolors of a lot of the GI Joe characters as Action Force characters. And hey, speaking of Action Force, coming up, for those of you who are fans of Action Force, and if you're not, you should be, because it's awesome. I do have those Crimson Moon figures from Big Bad Toy Store. So some of their version of the Red Shadows. I guess the Red Shadows name is maybe still trademarked, but the designs are kind of up in the air. So they were able to do their own versions of the Red Shadows that are called the Order of the Crimson Moon. So I'll have those figures to open up soon. And like Baron Ironblood, I guess maybe since maybe they can't use the specific character, you got to buy this character to get the uniform for Baron Ironblood, and you got to get this other character to get the head for Baron Ironblood, and then you have to buy a third character to get the helmet for Baron Ironblood. So you kind of have to get all those together. Yeah, Bobby Wall actually just asked, did you have the full Crimson Move? I don't know if I have all of them, but I've got Red Jackal, and I've got the guys that, like, if you swap their heads around, you've got Baron Ironblood and the Black Major, and I've got the zombie werewolf guy that's got Baron Ironblood's helmet. So I've got all of those. Al Davis says Action Force did become GI Joe in the UK. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I'm not misremembering. But yeah, I know even as late as maybe it would have been 86 in the UK, but it was when the 85 figures were hitting the UK. Those were it was still called Action Force by then, because I know I've seen a lot of the Action Force progs from over there with the with Flint and the 85 version of Snake Eyes on there and all that kind of stuff. And I think they were I guess they were getting into 86 because they were having Serpentor and kind of teasing Cobra Law in some of those issues. So, and some of those got reprinted over here in the United States as GI Joe European missions. So we did get to read some of those here in the United States as well. Al Davis says, "Or they look like Wolf Nazis from American Werewolf and London Sequence, but red crimson." Yeah, basically, because see the for those of you who aren't familiar, basically the concept behind Crimson Moon is that these are kind of like werewolf troopers. So and it's like a cult sort of thing. We'll get more into that when I open up the figures. But yeah, I would not be surprised if that was the direct inspiration. Would have been the demon wolf characters from American Werewolf. By the way, I have action figures of those I need to open up, because those I bought multiples of those when they had them marked down at Walmart, and I got one because when they got all those NECA figures in, they were like $25. They were already on sale, and I got the one that they had, and then later on they had a bunch of them marked down to clearance, and I was able to get 2 more. So now I have 3 of those American Werewolf demon trooper characters, and I need 4 because they obviously have the 4 alternate heads, but I have 3, so I'm gonna open those up eventually. I got a lot of cool monster stuff to open up, and it's just a matter of time. At this point, because I got so much stuff to open, I might not get around to opening up those monster things until next Halloween, which of course that would be appropriate. I'm getting so far behind. Bobby Wald says, so you don't have the priest? No, I do have the I think he's just called Order of the Crimson Moon. I don't think they came up with a fancy name for him. But yeah, the red Cobra Commander. I have that one. And of course I have the blue Cobra Commander. You saw that I opened that one. The Enemy Agent that I opened a while back. You saw that one. So and this one's kind of a red version of that, and it looks cool. So and I'm probably gonna. I've seen some people do this online already. I'm probably gonna take one of the extra Crimson Guards that I have and pop one of those Crimson Moon hoods on there. I think that'll look really cool. So Al Davis says, I turned 45 a week or so ago. I imagine we had similar toy childhoods. Yeah, definitely, because that's like the 5 years seems like a big difference when you were a kid. But once you get to be an adult, you realize, oh, it's not really that different, because then like I was 10 when he was 5, and that's still both old enough to play He. I'm just kind of like on the end of playing with He-Man action figures, and I'm about to lose interest in it. But you're just kind of just getting into it, and then you'll get into Ninja Turtles, and while I'm reading the Ninja Turtle comic book, and then those were, I think, the last kids that I played with when I was, or the last toys I played with when I was a kid. Mixed with the targeting guys from the Death Star, yeah, sure. With that cool cardboard Palatoy Death Star playset that I have seen once. I've seen one in person, and it was really impressive to see. You don't see those over on this side of the pond too often. Bobby Wald says, over there you find out that Quick Kick was trained by Shang-Chi and even tried to fight Iron Fist once. And Al Davis says, Cobra Hogwarts Legacy. You missed out on the agent? Oh, I'm sorry. That's Bobby Wald says he missed out on the agent. He's a really cool figure. I still got him sitting over the agent himself. I still got him sitting over here. So he looks really cool like that. I like him like this, just as like an actual agent. But you can still pop that hooded head on him and have your early years Cobra Commander when he was first starting out selling his soap. Maybe they'll re-release him at some point. I hope you get a chance to get him. If not, it shouldn't be too hard to take one of those extra Crimson Moon hoods and repaint it blue. So I didn't even probably really need to buy that figure to get the head, but I did it anyway. I wanted to open it up and talk about it on the show for one thing. But yeah, like like I could have just 3D printed hooded Cobra Commander heads before, but it's nice to have a factory made one. I'll say that. And then Al Davis says, did they do a black suit variant? I don't know for certain, but I know they did just this as a black suit at some point. I don't know if it came with this head, but I would love it if it came with this head, because like I said, to me he looks kind of like Josh Brolin when he was in Men in Black. So that makes sense. Anyway, I guess that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to talk about the Chronicles Skeletor figure finally, properly. And I'm really happy with how this 2000X Skeletor figure worked out. I still got like a few more of these to open up, because let's see, what all do I have left? I've got Prince Adam, I've got Stratos, I've got Mossman, and I've got Zodak. I think that might be it for my 2000X figures. And we're almost through May, and then we'll be getting into June, and that means soon the Masters Universe movie is going to be coming out. We're going to have a lot more stuff to talk about in the coming months. But next month I can get into. I wanted to mainly focus on Masters of the Universe, and of course I've done a few things here and there since then. But I kind of figure after the movie comes out, I want to do my big Supergirl episode, and this is going to be a fun episode where we're going to go open up all 3 of these Supergirl figures. that I have. So I got the Silver Age Supergirl, and managed to get the Platinum version, the Crisis on Infinite Earths Supergirl. That's all she was wearing when she died. And then my personal favorite Supergirl is Melissa Benoist. So so we got her to open up, and got a lot more DC stuff to open up. I stumbled across my Guardian figure I still need to open up the other day. We still got this Superboy figure I got to open up. Still got what else did I have to open up of DC? I've got the Flash versus Titano for some reason. I've got Atom Smasher and the Spectre. That set. I got a lot of really cool stuff to open up. So you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of that. So make sure that you do like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this figure and this version of Skeletor, specifically the 2000X characterization of him. Bobby Wald says there's a black suited body. Yeah, that's what I thought, like the spy from Monster Force, but it doesn't come with a Cobra Commander head. But hey, again, if you want to do like a black version of the hood, it shouldn't be too hard to repaint the Crimson Moon hood. And if you buy that Crimson Moon, I don't know if they still got them on sale or if they sold out of them yet. But if you buy that figure, it comes with like 3 hooded heads. So you can grab one of them and repaint it. Al Davis says, I thought the yellow reel of filament behind you was a Dick Tracy hat. Or, hey, it is that perfect Dick Tracy color, isn't it? Like if you want to do a Dick Tracy figure, that's exactly the right shade of yellow for it. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye. Okay.